Welcome to Hump Day's edition of the Floating Head Chronicles. This, rest in peace, was Reed. And this story is so tragic. Just wanted to bring awareness and spread the mom stories. And she's been posting it on Instagram. And it's starting to get some traction. And I don't know how I feel about it. However, it just seems like a very bad tragedy. Now, Lindsay Dewey was the mother of 22-month-old Reed, and 2 months ago there was a horrible household accident that resulted in his death. She went to Instagram, tried to spread the awareness of the situation and put her side out there. She doesn't care about the hate. She's been getting a lot of hate about it because people just don't quite understand it. And either way, people can point fingers all day. To me, it seems like a tragedy. Looking at the pictures, it looks like she provided a beautiful home for her children, and she was a good, caring mom and doing everything right. So this part is just bringing awareness in hopes that maybe it'll help save another child. So she can only speculate as to exactly what happened, but she's assuming her son, who had one of those suction bowl cups that you put so that way they don't spill their food all over the floor, and he stuck it to the mirror. They had one of these big mirrors, and when he was trying to pull it off and pry it off of there, that's what she believes caused the mirror to fall on top of him. She said that she was just 10 feet away from him at the time cooking dinner, and she heard nothing, at least until she heard the mirror itself fall. Afterwards, though, she said she still did not hear a sound from her son, so was unaware he was even under the mirror until she lifted it. Even still, he didn't make a sound, was awake, and looked completely unharmed as she picked him up. She was thinking like he must be okay, maybe in shock or something, but she said she just knew. After picking up her son, and based on how he was acting, she knew something was seriously wrong, and they didn't expect that it was this so serious that he wouldn't live from this injury. She put the mirror back against the wall and noticed that his bowl was stuck to it, and it clicked in her brain like, okay, now I know like how this happened. So it's one of those heavy duty mirrors that lean on the wall. It's been in that spot for over a year, and there was never any issues with any of the children. She stated, there is no way our kid is strong enough to move it, let alone pull it down on themselves. And we knew that, so the urgency to anchor it wasn't really there, because they're like, why anchor it when this is too heavy? He's not going to ever be able to do that. Now, she stated that anchoring it was on the to-do list. Literally everything in their house is baby-proofed. She shared a lot of the different measures in her house: window locks, gates, monitors, outlet covers, and more. And she also has, like, if you look at all her pictures, she has a state-of-the-art gadgets for everything. So pretty much everything was safe, except for anything can happen in a split second. This is, especially with toddlers, this we can't stress enough. You take your eyes off of them for 1 second and anything can happen. So because she did not secure that to the wall, this is what happened, and her child is no longer here with us today. She states, be mindful of your suction utensils and suction toys around any furniture or mirrors, as well as anchoring items that are heavy, even if you think that they could never tip over. Apparently they can. In another post, she wrote about her anxiety of sharing the story with public. We don't owe anybody an explanation, and I know that, but truly I shared this only for awareness purposes. We know we'll be judged for this, but anyone who spreads misinformation or has anything negative to say will just be blocked. We have enough trauma and heartache as it is. This shouldn't have happened. Keep your opinions to yourself, as this was clearly a quick and freak accident that could potentially happen to anybody. Her and her family had gone back and forth before she decided to go ahead and tell her story regardless of any potential backlash, just in hopes that it could potentially save another child, so the backlash to her is way worth it. Here's another picture of Reed, and then Reed in the hospital with his mom and his dad. Here's Lindsay right here. This is the mirror in question, so you can see how big that thing is. And, I mean, I guess, I don't know how secure it is, so I can't really be the judge of it, but it does seem like if it falls, it's definitely causing some damage to anybody that it lands on top of. This is the exact suction bowl that was stuck on that mirror. And she said, hey, man, this bowls never stick like they do. But on this mirror, on this day, it stuck in there real good enough for him to be able to pull that over on top of himself. Now, she reiterated how grateful she was that her husband, Eric, wasn't in California at the time as he commutes there for work. He was out of the house and he was just down the street. The other children were home. The kids came running when they heard my reaction of seeing the mirror falling. So unfortunately, they saw the whole thing. She shared that her daughter tried to get Reed and became hysterical. And she saw the panic on her mom's face. Their other young son, she wrote, thankfully was too young to comprehend what was going on. She said she was immediately worried about her daughter and in fear that she'd be traumatized by the experience because she's so very sensitive and holds on to things. But by the grace of God, she has showed no signs of actual trauma. So clearly they all remember the incident. The kids are like, I hate that mirror for hurting Reed. And I'm sad that the mirror fell on Reed. Like, oh, my heart is hurting for this family. She praised her husband for returning home immediately, arriving even before the paramedics came. He knew what to do to help him. And as soon as the medics got to the house, he just started listing off everything that was wrong with him. So they were able to get info and jumpstart on what needed to happen to give them a little extra time. It looked like his injuries were internal, still looked like their normal precious baby boy. She didn't understand it, and I'm sure she was at a loss of words and like freaking blaming herself and everything else. So she said she has the memory of his final moment before the accident. She said her two older children were playing in the front room and Reed was behind them playing by the pool table. Honestly, when I shared the accident, I truly didn't expect people to start sharing it. When I saw first few people sharing it, it put a pit in my stomach, and my first thoughts were, well, here we go. It's now out there and it's being shared. And most of the responses she's received have been positive and supported. And, but of course you're going to have the people that are like, why weren't you watching him? Like, it only takes a second. And that is true. Having multiple children, you tend to be a little bit more lenient because you've already been through it before and the other kids are right there and you're not thinking that something like this could happen. So it's hard for me like to feel like I can't blame the mom in this circumstance. It's not like, you know, the kids have had some issues or anything like that. She appears to be a great mom and this freak accident happens. And I mean, hopefully it does tell people, hey, just because you think it's too heavy does not mean that it cannot come down and hurt the child. You don't know. You never know. So make sure everything is safe and protected so these instances can't happen. So she finally said, hey, I can't resist anymore. I need to explain this to people and put this out there and let them know about those suction bowls so that way they're aware that this could potentially pull other things off. You know, the TVs and everything else that sticks to a flat surface, and if you get enough leverage, anything can fall over on top of them. So it is something to be mindful of. I've never had that happen, but you know, I'm trying not to judge here because, you know, I definitely have dozed off and watched my kid color on the wall with a permanent marker before in their younger years. And after that, I was so scared. Like, man, if she was able to color on the wall in that quick amount of time, imagine if, like, I wasn't awake at all. So I know that it's crazy being a parent, and it only takes a couple seconds for something to happen. Now she goes on her Instagram and says, God give us strength. All these people are tardy to the party, and this has been our nightmare since February. More awareness is spreading, and I'm thankful for that, which is why I shared what happened in the first place. But it doesn't make it easier to deal with. Beauty from the ashes, that's what I keep telling myself. So that mirror, when it did fall on him, ended up fracturing his skull, and he succumbed to his injuries, which is just insane because it's not something as a parent that you in your brain logically think will happen. Now, rest in peace to this beautiful boy, and my heart goes out to the family and anybody who was in Reed's life. This is a tragedy, shouldn't have happened, but to me is like a freak accident. I mean, granted, nobody, even the kids, would have been like, Mommy, Reed's doing this. You know, like no one was paying attention at all. And yes, she's making dinner and she's juggling a whole bunch because she's got kids, but this is scary for anybody. My heart goes out to them. Let me know what you guys think in the comments.